There are unions that inspire, others that disturb, and sometimes there are marriages that shake an entire industry. The one between Usher Raymond and Tameka Foster sent shockwaves through the music world. It all started in the early 2000s. Usher was already a global superstar, chart-topping hits, sold-out arenas, magazine covers. He embodied success, charm, and sensuality. For many, he was the very definition of R&B at its peak. Tameka Foster came from a completely different world. A well-known stylist and single mother of three, she had built her career behind the scenes, with determination, far from the spotlight. They first met professionally. She became his personal stylist. And quickly, their relationship went beyond fittings and fashion. But this wasn't your typical music industry romance. Tameka wasn't a young, naive conquest or a media darling. She had life experience, a full past, and a strong personality. She wasn't the type of woman designed for music videos. She was real, independent, and maybe that's what drew Usher in. For once, he seemed to be searching for something more than just image, but their relationship quickly made people uncomfortable. Fans questioned everything. Why her? Why someone so different from the usual mold? Too old? Too plain? Too far from the polished aesthetic of the so-called king of R&B? The backlash was swift and often brutal. Inside Usher's inner circle, tensions rose. His mother, Jonetta Patton, made no effort to hide her disapproval. She saw the relationship as a mistake, but Usher refused to back down. He wanted to make his own choices. In 2007, he even fired his mother, who was also his manager. A bold move that marked a turning point. On August 3, 2007, Usher and Tameka got married in a quiet civil ceremony in Atlanta. It was intimate, discreet, almost improvised. A week later, they held a more formal reception to calm the rumors. The couple appeared serene. A few weeks after that, their first child, Usher Raymond V, was born. But behind the image of a new beginning, the cracks began to show. Tameka struggled to find her place. Neither the public nor Usher's entourage fully accepted her. She was accused of isolating him from his loved ones. The media painted her as manipulative and opportunistic. Invitations to events began to dry up. She found herself alone. Usher tried to stand by her, but the pressure mounted. Work demands piled up. Tours, appearances, deadlines. He was rarely home. Tameka, meanwhile, tried to juggle motherhood and constant public scrutiny. Slowly, distance crept in. Moments of closeness became rare. Conversations grew mechanical. What started as a disconnect turned into a chasm. Life at home became heavy. Their glances changed. The silences grew longer. The tension, subtle at first, grew louder. Usher drifted. He spent more time on the road than with his family. Tameka was left to handle the children, the critics, and the persistent feeling that she never truly belonged. Rumors began to swirl. Some suggested she had caught Usher in a compromising situation with one of her own bridesmaids. Nothing concrete came out, but the doubt lingered. Soon after, a nanny was fired. Once again, gossip spread. She had gotten too close to Usher, some said. The atmosphere became suffocating. Tameka felt the bond slipping away. Usher no longer spoke about the future. He said he needed space. He grew cold, detached. The affection disappeared. Even his music changed. The Here I Stand album, meant to celebrate their family, felt more like a farewell, bitter. In June 2009, Usher officially filed for divorce. The reason? Irreconcilable differences. Tameka said she never saw it coming. No conversation, no warning, just legal papers out of the blue. The tabloids went wild. Social media exploded. Public opinion split down the middle. Some defended Usher, others sided with Tameka. It wasn't just a breakup anymore. It was war. Tameka accused her ex-husband of having an affair with one of her close friends. She spoke of betrayal, emotional distance, unilateral decisions. She described a man who had changed, now distant, even unrecognizable. Usher stayed silent in public, but in court, he didn't just seek a divorce, he wanted joint custody of their 2 sons. For Tameka, it was another devastating blow. She feared losing the last thing she held on to. The courtroom battles began, and they were brutal. Lawyers presented texts, testimonies, private arguments turned into legal ammunition. Tameka accused Usher of always putting his career above his family, of being an absent father, of subtle humiliations and power plays. His legal team fought back. They portrayed Tameka as unstable, combative, hard to live with. Witnesses described shouting matches in front of the kids, outbursts. The courtroom atmosphere turned heavy. Their marriage, now nothing more than rubble, was laid bare for all to see. Tameka broke down. In the middle of a hearing, she wept. She accused Usher of taking her children away, of orchestrating her isolation, of using his fame to silence her. Usher remained composed. He said he only wanted stability for his sons, that he wasn't out for revenge, but there was no going back. In August 2012, the court ruled. Usher was granted primary custody of their children. It was a crushing loss for Tameka, a hard-won victory for Usher, and an invisible scar for the kids. But the story didn't end there. Just weeks later, tragedy struck. Kyla, Tameka's eldest son from a previous relationship, died in a jet ski accident. He was 11 years old. The nation grieved. The custody battle faded into irrelevance. All that remained was the shock and a mother broken. After Kyla's death, Tameka disappeared from the public eye. No interviews, no statements. She wasn't hiding. There was simply nothing left to say. The noise had been replaced by silence. When she eventually resurfaced, it was through quiet action. She launched a foundation in Kyle's memory. She began advocating for water safety, organizing awareness campaigns, not to repair her image, but to give purpose to what remained. She continued her styling work, developed her own projects, but far from the limelight. Usher, meanwhile, pressed on with his career. He released Raymond vs. Raymond, an introspective album many saw as a direct reflection of his breakup. He kept touring, kept performing, but something had shifted. The energy wasn't the same. He became a father again, this time with Jennifer Goycochea. His life grew calmer, more structured. Over time, the tension faded, the lawsuits ended, the media moved on. But the story lingered. Tameka now speaks about it occasionally, always with restraint. She doesn't try to justify anything. She speaks of a difficult relationship, mistakes on both sides, a fragile piece rebuilt for the sake of the children. Usher remains more guarded. He rarely talks about his ex-wife, but when he does, it's without bitterness. He talks about lessons, about growth, about fatherhood, something he now embraces more deeply. They are no longer enemies, no longer lovers, but they are still bound by their children, by shared loss, by a story neither of them fully chose, but one they carried to the end. There was no grand apology, no joint statement, no fairy tale ending, just 2 adults, bruised by what they lived through, trying imperfectly to do right by their kids. Just enough peace to make co-parenting work, just enough respect to keep from falling back into chaos. Today, they each walk their own path. Usher continues his career more discreetly. Tameka remains active, but keeps her distance from the spotlight. Their story no longer fuels headlines, but for those who remember, it stands as a stark reminder. In the entertainment world, even love becomes a spectacle. And when the curtain falls, the artists rarely get to write the final scene. No fairy tale, no heroes, just two people who survived the collapse of a marriage under the spotlight. Two parents still trying, in their own flawed ways, to shield their children from the shards of the past. And maybe, in the end, that's the only thing that truly matters.